Dipty's here for a roundup of the French newspapers here in France. Dipty, we started our bulletin talking about François Fillon. We're going to go back to it. I suspect it's dominating the papers today.
That's right, Stuart. The Conservative presidential candidate is continuing his run at the top job, despite the fact that the alleged fake job scandal has completely interfered with and more or less overshadowed his actual campaigning, and despite the fact that he will have to face judges over that over those alleged fictitious jobs. Let's look at a few of those headlines, Stuart. Midi Libre, which is a French regional paper, requotes Fillon from an interview he gave to the paper. "I will fight. Je me bats." Very combative words. In this interview, Fillon accuses the justice system of plotting his political assassination. On the front page of Libé, the left-leaning paper, he's failed to make headway on the promises. We see a very strong headline from Libé here. The paper calls Fillon le forcené de la Sarthe. That really means the maniac. Le forcené is a very strong word, the maniac of Sarthe, which is, of course, his former constituency.
Well, let's stay with Libé. Paper's editors calling Fillon's campaign now a suicide mission.
Well, Libé is really taking to task Fillon today. How much lower can we bring our dignity, the paper asks in a very scathing editorial called Suicidaire or Suicidal. I quote, "Fillon is laying mines on the justice system upon which our social contract lies. His violent accusations against French justice serve no other purpose but to delegitimize the law at a moment where, especially on the right, we're urging the respect of the Republican order." For Libération's cartoonist Willem, Fillon is threatening to disappear right to the bottom of this casserole. Casserole, of course, in French being a colloquial word for scandals or skeletons in your closet.
What about the other papers? How are they reacting to Fillon's latest statements?
Well, let's look at L'Humanité, the communist paper, with a very damning headline. The paper accuses François Fillon of holding the French presidential election hostage. The paper condemns his, quote, outrageousness and diatribe against the magistrates, while the Catholic paper La Croix says while Fillon's counterattack stance can be understood or we can see where he's coming from, it's still unacceptable to, quote, denigrate the work of French magistrates, all the while appearing to appeal to voters to vote for him and to practice this hallmark of the French justice system, which is elections. La Croix says Fillon's speech, quote, weakens the French Republic, the very one that he wants to govern. Finally, Le Figaro, the right-leaning paper, speaking of this call to the people, a call to the people. But interestingly, it's one of the few papers that actually defends Fillon. They say judges are not above the democratic process, and Fillon held his own very well. That's what the paper says.
Yeah, the problem for Fillon, though, of course, so he's actually losing support amongst his own party and followers as well, isn't he? Les Echos reporting several people abandoning their support of Fillon.
A lot of people are jumping what they might see as a sinking ship. That's the impression we get from the French business paper Les Echos. They say several MPs, including Fillon's former rival Bruno Le Maire, who also ran in the Conservative primaries last year, have already disavowed their support for Fillon, while the centrist party, which is the centrist party called UDI or UDI, which was kind of like a core supporter of the Conservatives party, Les Républicains, they also have suspended their support for Fillon this week in the wake of the scandal. For L'Opinion, the right-wing paper, cracks are beginning to show in the party Les Républicains. L'Opinion says in this cartoon from CAC that Lady Justice has been blinded and she's toppling, you see her there, toppling over electoral ballot boxes, accidentally asking Marianne, the French symbol, did I knock something over?
Well, one person who, of course, stands potentially, anyway, to benefit from all this chaos on the right is, of course, Emmanuel Macron, the independent, more centrist candidate.
That's right. A maverick, some might say. There are two people who really stand to benefit from this. The other person, of course, being Marine Le Pen, the far-right leader. But Macron is going to reveal his electoral campaign program. Finally, Le Parisien newspaper says the candidate for the En Marche movement is addressing issues like unemployment, ministerial transparency, education, secularism, terrorism, all these thorny issues that he, for the moment, has not really given much detail about. For Le Parisien paper, It could, quote, open up the path to the Élysée Palace for him, which would be of a path, which would be a journey of biblical proportions. Among his proposals, Stuart Macron wants to make it illegal for French MPs to be able to use public money to hire friends and family, which of course is the crux of the Fillon scandal. That's what it exposed. He's also called for a reform of the labor market and is pushing for a 15 billion euro investment in the transition to clean energy. He's also called for unions to become less political in France.
One other scandal for you. It's not about politics, amazingly. This is a scandal that's engulfing Paris Fashion Week.
Well, designers are unveiling their ready-to-wear fall winter collections in Paris. They're well ahead of time, of course, the fashion insiders. The French paper L'Express says it has been overshadowed by what one veteran of the fashion industry has called the, quote, sadistic and cruel treatment of models. James Scully posted on Twitter this week that dozens of models were made to wait locked in a dark stairwell for hours at a Balenciaga casting while the casting directors went to lunch. It's, of course, shedding a lot of light on the treatment of models. That casting agency has been sacked by the fashion label.
OK, more scandal not to do with politics for a change. Things like titty with the papers on France 24.